Melbourne, Australia, the sporting, cultural and culinary capital of our nation. Beneath its skyline, this multicultural city is home to almost 5 million people and the destination each year of 1 million tourists who visit our galleries, parks, gardens, theatres and sporting precincts and dine at one or more of 2,000 restaurants. Melbourne is also a city with a very big heart, a city in which thousands of people every day with little or no financial support are really making a difference in the lives of those less fortunate than themselves.
We're really here to service the people of Collingwood, and on our doorstep we have the housing estate across the road, which gives us a lot of people that are living a highly disadvantaged life. So anything that we can do at the Wellington to make any day a little bit easier, whether it be through healthcare, through food welfare, through support through counselling, or adding additional services that help the locals, the better. The nature of the centre with the drop-in facilities really do cater to a lot of our clients that do live alone, that are socially isolated, that just don't have the place and the space to interact with other people. So the unique services that are offered at the Wellington just make such a difference to so many people's life. We run a lot of health-based clinics, so we do osteopathy, myotherapy, chiropractic care, traditional Chinese medicine, and this year moving into offering counselling services.
The Art Cabaret comes in 4 days a week, and we work with each of these children one-on-one. Most of these children don't speak, they can't move as well, and basically in their world that's out of their control, because they've got nurses looking after them, they get fed at certain times. The art is the one sort of area that we can kind of allow them freedom and autonomy. So it's really important for their expression. The thinking behind art therapy is that it's a way that we can access therapeutic means without having to speak. So it bypasses language. So with these children in particular, because they don't even have a language, it's really, you don't have to sort of think too much about that. So the art is just a way of allowing expression non-verbally. I think we've been at Very Special Kids here for 4 years now, and it's only now that people are starting to realise that it's not about arts and crafts. So we're never about what the end product is. It's actually the process. We're focused on process. So for some of the children, if we can see that we want to develop a little bit more fine motor skills with the physiotherapist, we'll sort of collaborate and we'll use sort of techniques that may help with fine motor skills. But there's a lot more a therapeutic intention behind art therapy.
It used to be known as Springvale Youth Club from 1945 until 1980s. And I believe then they changed the name to Springvale Community Centre and opened the doors to groups and people of all ages and backgrounds. They also started doing some English classes as migrants were settling in Springvale. There was significant need for English language literacy then, and there is still now. We are helping people to become professionals in the field of community support. What we are doing at our other venue, as you know, we're also running an op shop, an emergency relief agency out from Dandenong. We are going to hire young people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. We are doing it in partnership with Ways, who are the local housing agency.
We are a not-for-profit community service that cares for carers of kids on the spectrum and also educates parents and teachers so that they can do the best job to see these kids flourish. And so our motto is embrace, equip and empower. And we believe that every child should get the opportunity to live a very full life and be taught what they need to so that they can exceed in whatever they choose to do. We like to build capacity in the people who support children on the spectrum. So we build capacity in the parents and the carers. We do this via education and carer support programs so that they're equipped to be the best parent they can be for their child. We also believe in building capacity in teachers and integration aides. So they do an incredible job in the classroom, and what we do is add value to what they're doing. So we give them the strategies and tools and ideas so that they can be the best teacher for autistic kids in mainstream schools. I think we've had over 200 people volunteer with our service this year, and they make an incredible contribution to our community, whether it's administration and doing the behind the scenes work, whether it's educating parents or families or teachers, or they're the ones who are packing and doing the blessing bag collections. They're amazing.
We've been around in Ballarat and Central Highlands region for over 60 years now, providing services. We started out as a YMCA initiative in child support services, and we've grown that now to enter into accommodation, supported employment, day programs and one-to-one services for adults. So we've got a multitude of individuals. Some have a combined physical and intellectual disability. By far and away the largest portion are intellectual disabilities and also mental health. We have a number of our own homes from which we run services for people who don't have their own accommodation. And we also have government-owned houses, Victorian State government-owned houses in Ballarat, which we provide support services within to help those residents go about their daily lives and for their daily needs.
It has been established since 1952, and in that time we've expanded services quite significantly. We have approximately 115 individuals with disabilities, and they range in age from 18 through to about 67, 68 years of age. So in that range we have individuals with intellectual disability, physical disability, some with mental health issues and some with medical issues. So the range is very diverse, and the staff need to be diverse to respond to those needs. We work with the individual and their family or their carer once they're introduced to the service, and so we receive funding based on what they would like to do. So they set up an annual goal or goals, and we work specifically to that individual. Some people might like recreation, some might like some further education and training, and some might like some therapy or swimming. So it's highly diverse.
We saw a need for support for children on the spectrum suffering from autism. It is a neurological disease. There is no cure. And the model in Sydney has worked so well, and the response to our school there has been so overwhelming that we, after having done some research, it was decided that there was a need here in Melbourne, and we opened our doors in 2016 with 13 children, and we're hoping to have 35 by the end of this year. What we've done is we've taken a model from Canada. It's a transdisciplinary approach. By that I mean we have speech, occupational therapy, and music therapy that are taught together, and this three-pronged approach has yielded excellent results. So the children are exposed to music, they're exposed to physical activity and learning how to speak, and those three approaches together work best to bring out the best in the children and provide them with the best support.
What started as purely childcare and socialisation has now evolved into many other things. We start from childcare. We have a childcare program, and we run right through to seniors. We have seniors groups as well. So when you look at the demographics of who comes here, it's really quite diverse, but very reflective of our community.
We work with a lot of families in supporting them when their child is starting school in a mainstream school, And obviously there is quite a bit of emotion around that time for them, and it can be a difficult transition. Look, I think for families, their child may be the only one at the school with Down syndrome. So already, they feel that they're different to the rest of the children at the school. So what we do is very much try and transition the families into the school and make them understand what that school year means for their child. So assisting them with the curriculum, because a child with Down syndrome would be working on a modified curriculum, so they understand what the expectations are for their child in the classroom. For us, it's all about building information, building the parents' resilience, and also creating that partnership with the school. A lot of the time, the school may be trying to do the right thing, but they may not always be aware of what they should be doing. So for us, it's about providing that information to the schools, and we do that through our education support service. But if we build the relationship with the school and the parent, they're both on the same team, and the student, the child, will be the one that will obviously reap the rewards.
Well, over the years, Doncare has grown significantly. It was started by a council of churches, who the group of ministers were concerned about predominantly the women in the area. It was a young area. There was no transport. A lot of the roads weren't even made. It was a time when this was the outer suburbs. And the ministers were concerned that the women were struggling to manage in this area. So they set up the counselling service as it was initially, and progressively since then there's been needs that have been identified in the community that Doncare has managed to meet, from emergency relief. So there's some families out there struggling for food, so we help them with that through partnerships with a lot of schools and churches and organisations in the area. There's also been identified a need for domestic violence services. Manningham is basically seen as an affluent area, but there are pockets of need, and there's a lot of hidden needs within the area.
At the present time, it's about 3.1 years at grade 6 or year 6, which means that children are going into the high school environment with almost a grade 2-3 reading ability. And consequently, this reflects in the high dropout rate within 2 or 3 years, because if you can't read, you don't understand what's on the board, it's very hard to stay in the classroom. What we aim to do is to intervene very much at the most important point, which is just before the start of secondary education. So our main effort is with higher primary or lower secondary school children, so that they've got support when they go into the classroom. I mean, the worst thing that happens, I think, is that in the first year of secondary education, to discover that when the teacher asks you to read a book, you can't read it, or you can't even understand what's on the board, so you go to the back of the classroom, lie low for a while, then you stop going to school, and one thing leads to another, and you join your friends outside the school environment. So to provide a way of keeping people at school until they can get that extra school training that you need nowadays, apprenticeship, TAFE, traineeship, that's what it's all about. And once you've got that, then you've got a career.
Diamond Valley Learning Centre is quite unique when we compare it to mainstream schools and education, because we have a really nice building here that is a converted house. We have smaller classes, we have an emphasis on well-being, and we attract the students for whom mainstream school hasn't worked. Our students tend to be the kids who haven't had success, and usually they come from places of quite extreme adversity that you might not come across in a mainstream school, or you might not be aware of. When they come here, we tend to make really good connections with our kids, and we learn about their situations and how to help them, and then we try and bring them back on board with education and with feeling successful. We have people come back, we have student teachers, they love coming here because they do enjoy the well-being aspect that we have here. We're not just a complete focus on education, we have small classes, we have well-being officers, a teacher's aide. We're all extremely busy, but it's very, very personal and rewarding. They come here during their lesson times, but also they'll rock up on their days off and they'll turn up on the holidays and they'll call you, and it's great, you know, when we can help, when we can feel that we can sometimes be the only safe place and encouraging place in a person's life.
So this year we're looking at having the option for our clients to be able to see a psychologist or a counsellor. A lot of the clients that we have do suffer from mental health issues, so just to be able to provide that additional services will make a huge impact on different people's lives.
We are absolutely over the moon with the help that financial help, and it is about getting people to sort of fund the programs that we do, and the more funding, the more able we are to go out and reach out to other organisations and offer this.
We're particularly excited about support from Tobin Brothers because that money is going to go to a special project that we started at the end of last year.
We're so excited because we have to fundraise for equipment a lot of the time, or our volunteers will bring their equipment in from home. So we're going to buy a new projector, which means we can take our workshops to wherever we need to go without any barriers to people experiencing education. We're going to buy new tech gear, so a laptop and a couple of screens, so that we have capacity for our admin volunteers to do their job well as a microphone and a speaker, so that we don't have to go to any venue and have people not being able to hear what we have to say. So we're really excited and thankful.
We're just having our first very successful graduate of the project. The girl came to us back in August last year from the youth refuge or crisis accommodation. She was very anxious, very nervous, not sure about what she wants, what she can or cannot do. You wouldn't recognise that young woman now.
Children with autism learn, one of the best ways for them to learn is visually. So they're each given an iPad or some sort of computer, and that they take with them everywhere that they go, because each thing that they learn, they need to see visually first. So for example, they're going on an excursion to Safeway. They will have a visual aid to support them before they go. So those iPads and any IT-related equipment, even the Interwrite boards that we have in each of our classrooms, they are an absolutely indispensable tool for us. So any funds that we receive from you will go into building on that and increasing the number of iPads or IT-related equipment.
Oh, the grant is fabulous. We will be purchasing an accessible change table for our individuals with physical disabilities. It will go in our accessible bathroom, and it'll be a nice bright colour, and it will enable our staff to be able to support the clients with their personal care in a private and dignified manner every day.
So we've started off what we call a family literacy program, and it's to help primary school age children that are struggling with their reading. Most of these children come from non-English speaking backgrounds, so they come along to the program with a parent, and that parent and child are matched with a volunteer, and that volunteer will work with the child on their reading, but also provide strategies to the parents so that then they can go home and help their children at home.
Huge. It's huge for us because we're always struggling financially, and that's because the money that we get per head is less than you would get in the mainstream school, and we tend by our nature to attract kids whose needs are high.
I'm absolutely thrilled. For us, this will enable us to reach 60 to 70 families who can come and attend a workshop and get that information that will assist in their child having a good outcome at school. So Tobin Brothers Funerals have enabled us to do this workshop, and we are very grateful.
We have a particular group, the Chinese Walking Group, who the grant is going to support, and they have been getting together for over 20 years. What we have wanted and what they asked for a number of years ago and we haven't been able to do is for a day trip so that they could go further out, and we just haven't had the funds to be able to grant that wish.
Most people think that the area around Melbourne is not an Aboriginal area. They think that people of Indigenous descent are probably in the Fitzroy area or maybe around Collingwood, maybe in the Housing Commission there. That's just not the case. Most Indigenous Australians in Victoria live in the city, and they live in northern suburbs and they live in western suburbs. So we want to open up a tutoring system, set up a school-based system where we can take kids out of schools recommended by the teachers, and we can provide them with the support they need to stay on at school. That's going to be at Melton to start off with, St Albans after that, and eventually in Thornbury.
The kids are all asking, have we got the laptops? And it's really exciting when we've got a nice gleaming new one that they can have. And we're forever in need. I mean, at the moment, we've just got one between two of them still. We'd like to get one for everybody, you know. But it's just wonderful having them. It's just great.
So at the moment where we're located, we run a number of different programs for different levels of intellectual disability. Within those spaces we have an area which is approximately 250 square metres of what was traditionally an ornamental garden, which is nice to look at and aesthetically is very beautiful, but it doesn't create an inclusive space. So those funds will be used to reorientate that space so it's fully wheelchair accessible and creates an inclusive community and a place space for individuals to learn and grow while we're running programs.